So to keep the lights on, Eskom will need about 1 billion rands a week or some 6 million rands an hour. The power utility revealed this during a presentation to Parliament and warned of a challenging year ahead due to a drop in electricity sales. So without the cash, Eskom will not be able to service its about 480 billion rand debt. For more on this, let's bring in Ronald Chauke. He's an energy analyst at the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. So Ronald, we've heard time and time again that the prospects of any kind of economic recovery will be lost to us if we don't get our energy issues on track. Is that enough, though, to keep pumping money into Eskom in the ways through which the power utility says we need to?
No, for me, actually, as civil society, that won't be fair, actually, to the taxpayers and the ordinary South African public. Because we have been pouring billions and billions of rands into Eskom coffers, and then it seems the situation is not getting better, but unfortunately it's getting even worse, whereby Eskom continue to demand more from us, while it's the service of them giving us what you call a guaranteed, reliable supply of power. They are unable to meet that. Basically, it means that they want us to meet the end of the stick by us doing our part as electricity users, but they as a supplier, you find that they fail to meet their part. As long as they get the money, they think that, no, that should be fine. I don't think that that is a sustainable solution. We need to find alternatives.
Right. And until the landscape in its current form changes, it almost feels like South Africans are between a rock and a hard place. Refusing to pay this money would lead to power cuts. Power cuts would lead to economic decline. And that, it appears, will exacerbate the situation we're already in.
I fully agree with you on that. However, it's very important that the policymakers from both the regulator side as well as the government, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, they need to tighten the screws, including what we call the Minister of Public Enterprises, to hold Eskom accountable, to tell Eskom that they need to reduce their operational costs, they need to tighten the belt, and then in terms of performance of the officials that are making sure that we must get a reliable power, those officials as well must be held accountable so that in areas where we can reduce the cost, so that Eskom can be able to operate optimally, while it's at the same time we are fairly charged, not overcharged, as the situation might end up.
When Andre de Ruyter took over as CEO of Eskom, a lot of, call it the rhetoric sentiment at that time, is that the time for change for Eskom has arrived. Several months have passed now, and it feels like we're still dealing with the same issues. Are we being too hard on Andre de Ruyter to expect that by now we shouldn't be dealing with Eskom still needing about, what is it, 1 billion rand a week?
Yeah, it's too much. 1 billion rand a week, for me, it's exorbitant on its own. Because Andre, when he came, he assured us that, you know, the issue of wasteful spending will actually be reduced. But unfortunately now we have not yet received what we call fruitful results about that. And we are looking forward to seeing to it whereby Eskom management under Andre demonstrate that, guys, this is where we have reduced our costs. Let's say, for instance, even when it comes to the issue of head counts, they need to manage that in such a way that regardless of the union saying that, no, they are anti what you call work cuts, but we must find very workable ways which will enable Eskom to become a profitable company, regardless of them actually having a hope of saying that me and you as electricity users, we must bear the brand. Because it's unfair to us, because when you see the situation, even COVID, make the financial position of many households unbearable. Many people are out of work, their disposable incomes have been compromised by COVID and job losses. So one way or another, we must find a workable solution that will enable people to continue to have sustainable lives and then to continue to look for other alternative opportunities so that they can maintain themselves, their families, and then be able to move on, while we propel the economy to grow a little bit much more faster than what is happening at the present moment.
The landscape gets quite complex at times, doesn't it? We know that for Eskom to be profitable, sometimes they have to let go of certain people who perhaps aren't needed for whatever reason. That is a move that we know Labour won't take lying down. The question becomes, what do organizations like yours do to try and mediate in this process where there are conflicting demands, for lack of a better term?
Yes, we are continuing to engage government in the form of ensuring that even in Parliament, when parliamentary committees, they meet, we do presentations to them, outlining to them the need for us of putting South Africa first, not party political interest first. Because it's very, very critical that me and you, as ordinary South Africans, taxpayers and electricity users, we need to be protected, and then we need to be allowed to contribute to better functioning state-owned enterprises, including Eskom. Hence, it means that when it comes to electricity pricing, those pricing mechanisms that are being utilized by the electricity regulator must be reasonable, take into account the implications of affordability, while is ensuring that various players in the electricity market are allowed to enter into the space so that they can provide what you can call multiple services, competitive, as long as reliability is guaranteed, so that the economy grows and me and you have security of supply, while it's at the same time the prices are affordable. Because if we don't do that, believe me, Eskom will continue to request more money, and then that requisition, you'll find that it leads to higher prices, which becomes unaffordable, while people are unemployed and struggling. So basically, it becomes actually an untenable situation, which we don't want to experience as a country.
Yeah, untenable it is. Eskom, in its defense, is saying it still needs time, resources, money to ensure that it can roll out its maintenance plan. How much patience should we have for that, considering we're being told it will lead to a much more stable grid?
Now, on that one is true. The important thing that has to happen in terms of Eskom maintenance plan is that it has to be properly managed, so that when you deal with us contributing to that program, we don't find ourselves financing a maintenance program which is characterized by continuous load shedding. It should be a maintenance program which is funded through our tariffs, which already we are paying, in such a way that even the performance of contractors delivering that service of maintenance is taken into account. Because during the work of the analysis which we're doing as the organization and doing tax abuse, we found that there were contractors who were doing shoddy work in order to enable them to get more work at Eskom by the continuous breakdowns of those plants. So it's very, very important that we need to keep check of those companies to ensure that they deliver high quality service, and then the maintenance program is up to standard, so that the risk of load shedding is minimized, so that our economy can be able to grow faster and me and you have a reliable supply at the same time.
Yeah.
So basically it's very important that all areas must be looked at in a balanced manner, rather than us looking at it in a one-sided way.
We do know that, Ronald, though, these issues won't be solved tomorrow. The question becomes, how much longer can we exist in this awkward, untenable situation as you described it?
It's very important that government, in terms of its programs, like for instance your renewable energy program, bringing in private sector IPPs to contribute and complement Eskom, those processes must be accelerated, and then Eskom on its own, in terms of the recoveries of the monies that were lost to corruption, it has to accelerate that whole process as well. And then at the same time, the energy regulator has to start to closely play the regulatory oversight that will yield the necessary positive results that we need. And then Mr. Henri Director as well, he has to marshal his team in such a way that the areas where we must achieve savings that will help us to claim and throw back whatever money that we may get back in the short term to enable Eskom not to demand more from electricity users. That process must be get underway and be closely monitored and then be reported accordingly on a regular basis. It's very important that all these must happen together at the same time. And the Ministry of Public Enterprises must provide the necessary support that is required from a strategic point of view and shareholder point of view by giving us the assurance that things are working for the good of all of us. So those results must be reported to the public accordingly, so that we can have the confidence that something is happening and the turnaround is imminent.
One can only hope that we get there sooner than later. Ronald Chauke, let me thank you for your time. He's an energy analyst with the organization and doing tax abuse. Thanks very much indeed.